The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And we're coming to you tonight on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, and of course, Channel 54 on Simul TV. Wow, here we are, the year 2023, and I thought the month of January it just flew right by. And if this is any indication of what this year is going to be like, my goodness, it's going to be 2024 before we know it. What do numbers mean in life? Are there significance behind a number of the date of your birth? How about a telephone number? The address on your house? I don't know. I've often wondered that. Joining me now is Kelly Brickel. And Kelly is a numerologist. She is a medium, and she also is a psychic. And joining me now from Orange County, California, is Kelly Brickel. And Kelly, welcome back to the X Zone. Always great having you with us.
Hello. Hi, Rob.
Hey, how's it going? You and I were talking about the weather before, and my gosh, you're really freezing there at what, 60 degrees? You know, if you're looking for sympathy from over here, kid, you're not going to get any.
That's what I'm saying. We're coming in with humor. We're coming in hot,
Yeah.
So I'm doing okay. I have a heater. I am grateful for life.
Hey, Kelly, how did you get started in the work that you're doing and the gifts that you have?
Sure. So, I always have been an avid learner. That's for sure. And I wanted to know if this was really real. Honestly, I did not have exposure as a child or until I was a teenager of understanding what a psychic or medium was. And some of my first explorations into that was actually through numerology. They're not directly related, no, but they all go together, yes. And I started to explore of, hey, like what is this? Is this even real? Can people really do this? Do people actually have abilities? And if so, if that is a thing, why isn't it more talked about? Why doesn't everybody have the ability to learn about this? And what causes a person to be this way? So I started getting really curious because I came across books. I saw back in the day, like Sylvia Brown on the Montel Williams show, United States. That was something that was broadcasted. One of the first experiences to really watch somebody claim that they have gifts on just national television. And then later it came like John Edward and Lisa Williams. So, and then, Teresa Caputo. So there's been exposure sometimes within television to make you have the question too as well. Is this really real? Right? Is this really a thing? And so through my own exploration, I found out that I was able to tap into feelings and get information. I learned how to stimulate my clear senses, like seeing and hearing, and I was getting real results. So that's I could go deep into that story, but this started when I was a teenager, and I was in a phase in my life where I was going through some health struggles, and I was pulled away from school, and so I was meditating a lot and trying to figure out, why am I isolated from my peers? Like, why I like school? Why am I out of school? Like, what's the meaning of my life? Right. So I was like really having these existential crisis questions and ponderings when I was younger, and my focus and attention was there. So I didn't look at what was in front of me. I tried to look beyond that. And because of that, I started looking at life very differently and experienced information very differently. And that's how everything opened up.
Kelly, what was like the first time that you actually used your knowledge, your gift on somebody else and saw how profoundly what you were telling them was affecting their life?
That's a great question. So I was very I grew up with a very practical background. So even though I was having a lot of these experiences, I didn't really share them a lot with people until I was, I would say, about like 5 to 10 years into my journey. So
Mm.
I started telling my friends maybe about 5 years into my journey. And some of the friends that, believed and were interested, let's say, even if they didn't believe, they just wanted to talk about it. So not a lot of people were interested, but I had some friends that would say, okay, like guess the color, guess the number. And there would be like a decent amount of reliability with what was coming back. And we would have, you know, a lot of different colors and a lot of different numbers to choose from. They would like play these games with me and I'd encourage them. I'm like, okay, let me see if I can get something. Let me see if I can get something. So it was a lot of that and it was a lot of personal development because I wanted to be so sure, so correct, so in tune with my gift before I actually dealt with other people in a serious sense. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I wanted to learn that things were real. I wanted to test it out. So it wasn't until I was 24 when I started actually working with other people and I started to see that I could connect to their loved ones, that they understood the information that I was giving them, that it was real. It wasn't just inside my head and I was getting information that somehow stuck. It started becoming really real and it actually started to affect people in a very positive way. And I was like, okay, um, all right, I can't just act like this is just something I'm figuring out. This is a part of my life. It has been, and it's officially gotten to a place of helpfulness for others now.
Kelly, you're a psychic, you're a medium, you do numerology. What would you say your favorite gift would be?
Sure. My favorite gift is doing psychic readings, and numerology falls under a psychic modality, so they can go hand in hand beautifully. But my favorite gift is working psychically. So I work with people's lives, the energy of what they're dealing with, like
Mhm.
emotionally, what's coming for them, where their gifts are, how they see the world, their career, the relationship. I do connect with the dead, yes, but I'm very good at connecting with the living. I would say that is my strength and powerhouse. And you can't box that. Numerology, you can box it a little bit. You can't box psychic work. You can't box mediumship work. It's very, you never know what you're going to get. And that's why it's so super fun. So there you go.
If if life is based on an individual's free will, how do how does a psychic like yourself, how are you able to look ahead and determine that if the person gets to the crossroads, instead of turning left, they're going to turn right when they have the ability to choose free will?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, it's been debated throughout time, free will versus determinism, right?
Mhm.
Like, do we have a choice? Are we just going through life and every turn we have is just connected to something else we did and we're just
Right.
following this thing in front of us? So I very much believe in free will. A lot of spirituality believes in free will. For people who believe in God or religion, free will is talked about a lot, that it was gifted to humans. So that's a interesting, exploration just in itself. But yes, I believe in free will. I believe in something called destiny. And destiny, a lot of times, is a mixture of free will and a series of events stacking up to lead you in a certain direction. Now, yes, free will and determinism, they contradict each other. But in my eyes, they are complementary in nature. They're actually a dichotomy. So I do believe that if a person is making a series of choices, their energy is probably going to go a certain way. Now, there are certain fixed points in in a person's life where they are going to make a sharp right turn, whether they like it or not. Now,
Mhm.
what they do about it when they meet that moment is entirely up to them. But there's certain points where you're supposed to meet a person. There's certain points where you're supposed to have a career change. There's certain points where you're supposed to have an extension with your family or a breakup because it leads you somewhere else that you're supposed to be. And there's contracts in life. I'm sure a lot of psychics and mediums who have been on your show, they talk about soul contracts.
Yes, they
Now,
do.
those contracts are made with free will before you even come here. So, it gets really deep. What did you choose before you even came here? There is a map. There really is.
Well, that leads me to another question that many of our listeners may not have had the opportunity of listening to a psychic or medium before on the show, since we're always growing. But where are we prior to coming to this reality that we're in now? Where do we make that contract?
Sure. Yeah. So I don't talk in a way where I, have all the answers. I really don't. And that's something I will always look to and ponder on. But a lot of people liken that to something like the other side, heaven, a state of consciousness where we actually chose to come here, a state of awareness that supersedes this place and is very much connected to this place when chosen Earth as a place for growing, as a place like a school. So before we came here, we go, I'm choosing this place and I'd like to do these things. And it's actually very complicated because you line up those decisions with other souls, other people. Other people have chosen to be your family, your friends,
Right.
your coworkers, and your paths are all linked up.
So it's like dropping the stone in the calm pond and watching the ripples intermingle with each other.
Yes, we're all rippling and intermingling, and it's a mandala. It's quite beautiful.
Kelly, you and I have to take our first break. Please stand by. And X-Zone Nation, Kelly Brickel's our guest, and her website is kellybrickel.com. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And we'll both be back after this short message. Don't go away.
From the Canada-US border in the southern region of Niagara, traveling north in Ontario's Golden Horseshoe, then east and west of the Greater Toronto Area, there is growing awareness and excitement as more and more people are starting their day with Beautiful Mind Coffee, the delicious healthy coffee that your brain will love. Made with ethically sourced 100% Arabica coffee, Beautiful Mind Coffee is roasted and ground in small batches to ensure each bag contains a wonderful full-bodied artisan coffee. Scientifically formulated, Beautiful Mind Coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng have been selected for their ability to support good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available at Amazon.ca and soon to be available in selected locations near you. In Hamilton, Ontario, Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available at Livelong Wellness Clinic, located at 189 Hewson Street South. Beautiful Mind Coffee can be ordered by telephone by calling 416-436-3675 or 905-536-2450. Why have a good cup of coffee when you can have a great cup of Beautiful Mind Coffee that's good for your brain? For more information on Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit us online at www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca.
Welcome back, everyone. Kelly Brickel's my guest this hour, and we're talking about Kelly being a medium, a psychic, and a numerologist. If you'd like to get more information about Kelly, or maybe you'd like to contact her for a one-on-one private consultation, visit her website at kellybrickel.com. Kelly, in the time that you've been doing readings for other people, has there been one that has really touched you more than any other reading that you've done?
Oh goodness, they all really touch me in different ways. Um, I do think about one from time to time. I that I find puts a smile on my face. So I had two people who came in. They
Mhm.
wanted a reading. They wanted to be together for the reading, so they were friends. Okay,
Okay.
so they weren't related, but they were friends, and they both wanted to hear each other's experience. Right. So one had a father and one had a grandmother, and they didn't tell me who they wanted to connect to, but that's who they had just right from the get go.
Right.
And so right when the first reading ended, because they're about an hour each, um, the lights just went off in the wellness center that I rent space out of, and just it was like, okay, that's the conclusion, and let's take a
Wow.
break and get ready for the next reading. It was just the energy was so clear. It was just so helpful. You could tell that both of the friends were supporting each other. They learned about each other in that experience. They actually didn't know things about their loved ones, and that helped come to the surface. And what actually gave it so much more meaning than that was one of the girls that was in that reading. Her mom actually came in. I think it was like a week or two later, because she was like, oh, I need to get my mom, and I need to get my mom read. And that's what happens with
Mhm.
family members. People just like come in like, with referrals. And
Sure.
so with the mom coming in connectivity to that, the mom was able to validate things that the daughter couldn't validate. So it was like she got to understand her grandmother in an even more like a big spectrum than she ever knew her as. And it just opened up so much discussion within the family. So not only were there some cool moments with the lights going off, but it created this spiral of all these people started reaching out to me through that one reading. So a lot of connections opened up because of that. That's one of the ones I think of. But from a personal standpoint,
Mhm.
I would say there's been a couple of them where people's lives have changed and made some pretty big, significant decisions, and those have stuck with me, definitely.
Kelly, do those who have departed us, do they try to communicate with us to push us to see somebody like you so that because maybe there's some unfinished business, maybe there's a last message, or how do we know if we're being guided towards someone like you?
So, spirits or our loved ones, our guides, or those who have passed, they're around us all the time because we are connected to them. When we talked about earlier about life contracts and
Yes.
we've chosen who our family is. So, we're forever connected, we're forever bonded. So, whether they're with us on earth or they've
Mhm.
passed, they're checking in on us. They care about our life. So you better believe that they're going to be trying to guide us in the right direction. Now, it doesn't mean that they'll always tap on our shoulder and say, go see a medium, go see a medium. In fact, a lot of times they just want you to listen, and that might open the door for your own abilities. That might open your door for your own memories. Sometimes we don't need a full on reading. We just need reminders, right?
Right.
We just need encouragement, or we just need to feel a certain way. Like, I think that was my grandma. I think that was my dad. Like, oh my gosh. Um, and sometimes if we're just really not sure and we really need that extra healing and that guidance,
Mhm.
then they will guide us to go to a medium. They will guide us to go even get a psychic reading about our own life to get more perspective. So, yeah, it's not always full fledged, but there's encouragement for sure. They just want our life to not be so complicated.
Has there ever been a time, Kelly, when somebody has come to you for your gift of mediumship that they sit down in front of you, or they may chat with you online, or however they do it, and the person that they want to communicate with doesn't want to talk to them?
Doesn't want to talk to them. I would say, in my experience, no. I have had experiences though where it could be perceived that way. I've seen people perceive it that way. So I've been a part of, let's say, a group demonstration where other people have perceived it that way. In my experience, there's some spirits that are just, let's say, they're not as easy to talk to. It's not that they don't want to be heard. It's not that they didn't show up,
Yeah.
and they just decided to leave the room. Um, no, it's just some of them are very, let's say, in life, maybe they weren't the best communicator. Maybe they're more quiet, or maybe they were a little bit wary of people they never met before. So they're a little bit more, tight-lipped about how they say things, or maybe, short sentences. So it's almost like it's hard to get in. It's hard to communicate. You have to do it just a certain way. You have to dance a little bit differently. So I've noticed that with some personalities, super easy to talk to, and other personalities, it's like, oh, okay, no worries, no worries. And sometimes it's the sitter too. Sometimes you could tell the sitter something and they just don't remember. And they're like, I don't think that's my dad. I don't think that's my mom. So there's a trifecta. There's the medium. Is the medium's talent and experience harmonious for the connection? It's on the medium's shoulders. It really is. Is the sitter in a clear state of mind to work and remember and open up their minds? And then also, what's the unique personality of the spirit you're working with? It's a trifecta. Absolutely.
Right.
It's not one person's fault, but it mostly comes back to the medium. You better believe it.
Kelly, you're a human. How do you deal with being in the middle of the spirit world and this world of reality and having to be the conduit within this trifecta? How does it affect Kelly Brickel?
It's, you know what? If you've made a decision and you say, hey, like, I'm passionate about what I'm doing within my life, like I feel congruent with it enough where it's a part of my everyday life,
Right.
or if you've accepted it into your profession, it's kind of like you're going to work, and some days at work are really tough and some are
Yeah.
easy and some are ecstatic. It's a little bit more interesting on some days because this work directly affects your life too. You're feeling what other people are feeling. Like, you really are. Your empathy, at least in that session, or around that session, is through the roof. So you feel and pick up things within your body that are quite odd to the normal, I would imagine, human perception. You feel other people's physical pain even. And sometimes it's a little bit alarming and it can stress you out. But for the most part, I think people in this work are built to cope with it.
Where do you stand when it comes to a reincarnation?
I believe in it. Yeah, I do.
Okay. Now, as I understand it, people pass on, and after a certain period of time, they have the ability to come back. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. What would happen, Kelly, if somebody sat in front of you wanting to communicate with, let's say, their departed mother, and their departed mother has already been sent back or is in another life? What happens at that point?
I think that's a fantastic question. And this question, so bear with me for a second, goes in part with what I think about people who believe that souls are left behind, or, that we have to do soul retrievals, or, clearing property of spirits. So I think a part of us is always connected to the other side. I don't think like we wholly reside here. So if we are past, yes, we're going to be back on the other side. If we're actually in another life, a part of us is still on the other side. So
Gotcha.
The soul of who I am is not just Kelly Brickel. The soul of who you are is not just Rob McConnell. Okay? Like, we are so much more than that. And I do believe our consciousness is so much more capable than just being at one place at one time.
Okay, so that goes into the multi-dimensional aspect and the multi-universe aspect, that we're all connected.
Yes. And it also, if you really want, so it can go into that quite beautifully. I don't even know how to think about I do believe in the multiverse. I don't even know
Okay.
how to quantify it in my mind. I'll do my best, right? So I don't even know how that fully connects. But if you just think about like quantum physics, right? Like how on earth am I able to give a reading in California to someone who's in Canada? Well, I can connect to them quite effortlessly. Our energy connects.
Sure.
How does that make sense? I can't explain all of it, but with quantum physics, there's quantum entanglement, and once particles are connected, it doesn't matter where you are in the universe, you can interact. Well, how do we even interact if we've never even met each other? That's something I'm not sure of, but it's not a physical thing, you know? It's a consciousness connection. So I don't know how the particles are shared there, Rob, but I really don't. But I wholeheartedly believe you don't have to just physically be in one place to be. Okay. So it
Sure.
doesn't matter that someone is past or living another life. You're still able to access the consciousness of them as, let's say, Rob or as Kelly or even another lifetime if someone specializes in that. I don't. So it's mind blowing what's possible.
Kelly, we've got to take our break at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. Exo Nation, Kelly Brickel's our special guest. Her website, kellybrickel.com. Interesting young lady, interesting conversation, and we'll be back right after this. Don't go away.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
And we're back. Kelly Brickel's our guest this hour, www.kellybrickel.com. Kelly, as I started the show out, it is, here we are, the first day of February in the year 2023. As a numerologist, what can you tell us about the year 2023?
So the year 2023 is a world year of 7. So that applies on a global level to how people will feel about the state of the world, a shared consciousness, as you will. So there's going to be a lot of going deep into questioning identity, a lot of consideration, and more so alone time. So unfortunately, some degree of isolation or really tackling needing that additional time to disconnect is going to be resurged in the world for sure, because 7 is all about going within and having alone time and really being introspective and be within one's thoughts, find personal wisdom. So that is really a calling to the world to hopefully have some of their purpose questions redefined and answered. And we're looking into things like AI coming into the world and really changing the workplace, and really, what is our purpose? What are we going to do as a human race going forward when many of our skills are not maybe even needed anymore?
Yeah, it's a question, what is going to happen to the human race with AI taking over a lot of things and what is going to happen with the homeless situation, the housing situation, the food situation, the healthcare systems, and so many questions. And it is going to be a very interesting year. Kelly, when you sent us some information, you mentioned something about repeating numbers. What are they?
Oh yeah, sure. So a lot of people, I'm sure you've heard of like angel numbers, right?
Okay,
Have you?
remind us.
So a lot of times people talk about angel numbers. So what those are just repeating numbers or they're master numbers. So in
Okay.
numerology, they're called master vibrations. And so when they're sequencing, and you'll see that in nature, like
Mhm.
certain numbers just come up all over nature. Um, right angles, the Fibonacci sequence, all that fun stuff. But in general, people, when they notice some of these things, they'll see like a time of day, a license plate, right? Or they'll have like a lucky number that follows them
Mhm.
everywhere. And so, what that is the reminder to pay attention, the reminder that life is bigger than oneself, and all of life is working with you to help you wake up. The reason why master numbers and repeating numbers are so important is because it's about the language of the universe. There's signs around us that are not just happening once, but like let's say if you see a 444,
Mhm.
right? That's four threes. Like they're making sure the universe is making sure that you don't see that four once, twice, but three times, right? And then there's these sequencings that even get more complex than that. So they're very special numbers. They're built up power, accelerated power, and expansion.
One of the phenomena that we checked into years ago because everyone was talking about it was the 1111.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was
go ahead. Yeah, no, it is. You're right.
yeah. Well, what is your explanation for why all of a sudden years ago everybody started noticing 1111?
1111. That's a great question. So, well, in numerology, the master numbers are like 11, 22, 33,
Mhm.
44, and those are the main ones that are kind of looked up until like 99. Anything that's a repeating number is a master number, though. And so they all have definitions of what they mean. So, 11 is the number of the wounded healer, it's the number of the master teacher, and it's about like two ones forming the number two. So it's about, going into a place of self, the
Mhm.
one, and the one coming alive and going beyond oneself to create two. So the one has to go within oneself. A person has to find themselves, go deep, and really evolve and become so much more. And that takes trial, tribulation, dark night of the soul. So it's I think it parallels to what a lot of people are feeling. They're like re-emerging. There's this spiritual unfoldment around 2012. I was going through it too. That was when really I was stepping out with like confidence for the first time in my own right. So I looked at it from a perspective of, oh, I'm awakening and putting myself out into the world. So what are others thinking? But in perspective now, that's when a lot of people started being more empathetic, started being more in touch with their emotions. Like, think about it. Like 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, a lot of people didn't go, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Like, we didn't talk about feelings
That's true.
as much. Now we do. We're so more empathetic as humans now. And we had to go through our own wounds and self reflection to even begin to understand how that's an important question, as opposed to, oh, you're a snowflake.
Kelly, we used the example, and I asked you about 2023 at the beginning of this segment. How could numerology help someone who's listening to us right now?
Sure.
How could it help their lives?
Sure. It's numerology is quite fantastic. I always bridge it in
Mhm.
understanding to astrology a little bit. So for anyone who knows about astrology, people do chart readings on individuals, and you learn so much about your characteristics, your strengths and your weaknesses, and you learn about what's upcoming for you with how the planets circulate the sky in relation to, your placement when you were born. And numerology very much is like that from a different perspective. It takes your birth dates and it takes your name vibration. So on one hand, it goes into who you are when you first birthed yourself into the world, but then it also pairs with your identity of what name you've been given or what name you have chosen to be your identity. Okay. So your birth chart can, in numerology at least, can change depending on if like you get married or you shorten your name legally. It's the signature that you enter the world with. So when I say, hi, I'm Kelly Brickel, what I'm saying is, hi, I'm a vibration. And my name is full of number vibrations, and those are codes for certain types of energy. Pythagoras believed that every number had energy.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because we, I believe, live in a digital, a binary existence, 0, 1. And an example that I often use is we have up, down, right, left, in, out, black, white, good, bad, and so on and so forth. So I would imagine that numerology takes this binary existence that we're in and allows people like yourself who understand the workings of the universe, not only as you see it, but the binary code that we're all part of. And you're basically interpreting the mathematical equations and sequences that you see to the people that you're reading for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I looked at it first when I was really understanding spirituality, and I wanted a certain modality to understand rather than just personal experience.
Right.
Because I was like, can this be quantified?
Yeah.
Can this be quantified? And I did start seeing relationships like life path numbers. Everyone has one. It's how your career will go. It's your continuous lessons. I would research people within the public eye, whether it's like a president or let's say like Lady Gaga, like someone very prominent in the public eye. And there would be correlations with like actors having similar numbers or singers having similar numbers, comedians having similar numbers, doctors, lawyers, similar numbers.
Wow.
It wasn't across the board, but there was enough correlations that I was like, this is not a coincidence. And any, like, let's say, deviance from the correlations that I was seeing, it was because they had, let's say, a little bit more of a unique personality that would showcase in the public eye, right? So it all, had legs with why I understood that it was something.
Kelly, stand by. We've got to take our final break for this hour. And X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Kelly Brickel. And if you'd like to contact her for a private consultation of her psychic gift, mediumship, or numerology, visit her website at kellybrickel.com. And we'll be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
From the Canada-US border in the southern region of Niagara, traveling north in Ontario's Golden Horseshoe, then east and west of the Greater Toronto Area, there is growing awareness and excitement as more and more people are starting their day with Beautiful Mind Coffee, the delicious healthy coffee that your brain will love. Made with ethically sourced 100% Arabica coffee, Beautiful Mind Coffee is roasted and ground in small batches to ensure each bag contains a wonderful full-bodied artisan coffee. Scientifically formulated, Beautiful Mind Coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng have been selected for their ability to support good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available at Amazon.ca and soon to be available in selected locations near you. In Hamilton, Ontario, Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available at Livelong Wellness Clinic, located at 189 Hewson Street South. Beautiful Mind Coffee can be ordered by telephone by calling 416-436-3675 or 905-536-2450. Why have a good cup of coffee when you can have a great cup of Beautiful Mind Coffee that's good for your brain? For more information on Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit us online at www.brautifulmindcoffee.ca.
And we're back. Kelly Brickel's our special guest, www.kellybrickel.com. First of all, Kelly, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. A great pleasure talking to you, and I hope that we have the pleasure of talking to you again in the near future.
Absolutely. It's been great. Thank you so much. That would be an honor. It already is.
All right. Thank you so much, Kelly. The work you do as a psychic, a medium, and a numerologist, I feel that these unique gifts and talents that you have could actually help younger people get a better idea of their life and how to, or what pitfalls to watch out for. Kelly, do you have a minimum age where you say, yes, I'll do a reading for you, or
Sure.
no, or how does that work?
Sure. So, with like services, from country to country, I'm sure it's different, but in the United States, if anybody is under 18, they need parental consent. Absolutely. So if someone's 17, they need parental consent. So I do work with actually younger individuals, usually not for readings. It'll be more so for, let's say, energy healing, or
Right.
it will be for younger children to discover their sensitivities, or even if they have gifts with connecting to the other side. I work with younger kids a lot, but their parent isn't involved, involved in a way where sometimes they're in the room if they're very young, or there's always a check-in with how the individual is doing. If, let's say, they're coming more routine and they can, go somewhere else while the child is just exploring their gifts in a session.
Kelly, are you finding that more and more children are very attuned and very gifted?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do see that. There's still an opening of how it's being accepted. It's still coming into its first seasons of how, let's say, it's more mainstream for classes for kids. There's always, let's say, I always hear about parents reaching out and asking. I always hear that being a thing. Now, I remember even 10 years ago almost. So it was about, I'd have to do the math, but it's like 8, 9 years ago. A lot of the major names, so like James Van Praagh, Lisa Williams, they started actually understanding that this was coming into the world, and they started creating class formats for young people to get trained, and like no one showed up. I'm telling you,
Really?
they did not have the numbers, and these are big names. So people were interested, but not enough people were like, I'm going to invest
Right.
in making sure my children have these skills, because they weren't considered practical enough to actually bring your child to that environment and have your children find other children that are just like your children. So it's not, it hasn't taken flight the way that it should, but it's coming to that time more and more offerings are out there for kids, but it's a lot of one-on-one stuff.
Is there anything in particular that a parent should look for that would be an indicator that this child or their child has the gift, has the ability, and that their child should be encouraged to work with someone like yourself?
Sure. So, foremost, I would say that if a child has curiosity, a child needs to actually have interest in doing this work. If, let's say, they're seeing people that have passed, or if they're talking to grandma, but they don't really have interest in it, then yeah, sure, they can talk to somebody if they're having problems. But if they don't have curiosity, it's almost irrelevant unless they are actually having problems and you want to help quell and calm and, give some type of confidence to the child that their life is going to be okay and that they're all right, and give them some understanding. Now, beyond that, a child has to want to develop, because it actually takes a lot of focus, time, and patience. You could be naturally gifted, but you still have to understand what is happening when you're developing. And it does take a certain maturity level, even in a small child, to be able to focus and sit and talk about what they're experiencing. So it does take a little bit of a special soul to actually be mature enough to want to say, hey, not only do I want to pay attention to this, but I want to continue to go at it. I've met a lot of kids who are very gifted, but they're not exactly interested all the time. They have phases within their life. So there's that. Or when they have phases, they don't necessarily want to focus on that as the only thing. They just want to talk about it sometimes. Does that make sense?
It does. It truly does. Kelly, what are your final thoughts? What is your final message that you would like to share with the X Zone Nation tonight?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I guess my final thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts, Rob.
It's okay. That's good.
I appreciate the enthusiasm. I do. My thoughts that I want to share with everybody is that the world really is changing, and I do think a lot of people are feeling a lot of stress and strain and are very tired. And so I would really just want to promote to everybody, self-care is so needed right now. And if you have an interest, or you've been having something nagging at you for the betterment of yourself, invest in yourself, find a way to do it. We're only here for such a small amount of time, and everything that you're inspired to do, or that keeps coming back to you that is positive, you're meant to do, you're meant to experience, you're meant to grow, and you're meant to share that. Whether it's just sharing the feeling of, gosh, I'm actually doing it, and putting that out and helping other people feel good, or actually sharing the excitement and telling them what you did to further their inspiration and their belief that they can have a better life too. That's what I want to share with people.
Kelly, I want to thank you ever so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure. I wish you much success, and we look forward to the next time you're going to be with us here in the X Zone. Until then, stay well, my friend.
Thank you so much, Rob. Stay well too.
X Zone Nation, if you'd like to contact Kelly for a one-on-one consultation, whether it's as a psychic, a medium, or numerologist, or just talk to her, and if you've got a child that you think may be gifted, or if you'd like some guidance of a spiritual sort, I guess we can say, Kelly, give Kelly check her website out at kellybrickel.com. Well, that's it for me for tonight, X Zone Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. So until tomorrow night, when once again we join together in this magical world of broadcasting, always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.